Hi, it's Bella Devera, official.wordpress.com, and I wanted to make a video. This is one of my astrology videos. So, I wanted to clear up some misconceptions about, like the Los Angeles, you know, glamour life, living the dream kind of life. In Synastry and the natal chart, in marriages or long-term relationships or short-term relationships, and why they fail or why they last. There's so much information out there in the astrology world that says it's just Neptune, and it's not. Neptune is good and bad, like all planets. It's the foggy, not seeing the clear picture of things. But the fifth house is the actor, celebrity, Leo, glamour house. And it's Leo is the liar of the zodiac. It's the acting zodiac, it's the putting on a show zodiac sign. Zodiac sign. It's the ego, it's the sun sign. The sun sign rules the fifth house. Or the sun does. It's the ego and the identity. So what happens for one thing, it's that, and also it's Jupiter, like not bad aspects necessarily. It's just in the natal chart, your belief system. That's part of what Jupiter is about. Which rules Pisces and Sagittarius. Neptune also rules Pisces, but it's not the fog of why marriages don't last. It's the whether you want to put effort into the relationship or not is a huge, gigantic part of it. That's one of the number one reasons why marriages or relationships of any type don't last. And that's Jupiter. It's your belief system. The other planets, and if you don't have Saturn and a mix of Jupiter too, Jupiter's synastry is not bad. It's just Jupiter in the natal chart, your own belief systems, is why things can't last sometimes if there's not enough Saturn. That's why it doesn't last a lot of times. And because a mix of other synastry, like Pluto aspects, if you don't want to deal with it because you don't maybe have enough Saturn to stick with a relationship, Neptune and Uranus and other synastry can be a part of it, but Neptune is not the planet to blame for situations happening that make relationships not last, like especially like marriages. It's not, if you have a 20-year relationship with someone in Hollywood or whatever, or a 10-year one, or let's not say 20 for a good example. Let's say, dating for 3 years and then you break up or something. Neptune's not going to necessarily be the reason why you break up. If you have a Neptune situation going on, a full-blown Neptune situation, 3 years is a long time, because the Neptune, whether it's the Neptune person in the synastry or the other person where it's like a reflection of the things going on and they're doing the Neptune stuff, Neptune pulls away and then keeps the person around emotionally attached, but not like physically maybe, or not not for real. And it's also law of attraction too, and chakras. Um, Depending on if you have something going on there with your chakras being out of balance. Um, Leo though is the liar of the zodiac. It's the acting house. The ego is the sun. That's a big, huge part of why relationships don't last because your ego gets in the way. And in the natal chart, also difficult aspects like, where it's your ego involved in something um, that you can't just seem to get a grip on, and deal with your ego. Um, a lot of times I see crap going on social media, and I study many natal charts and synastry charts. So I'm talking about like me and my practice of astrology, not just my opinion. So what I've studied in in the natal charts and in synastry is there can be some amount of Neptune sometimes that is a problem depending on the situations. But what's what I really see is not Neptune. It's something about your chakras and your law of attraction experiences that you need in life, um, that get you into bad situations. And the culprit for that is lying. That's the Leo house or the sun sign. That's the ego. It's not because you can't see what's going on, because Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto synastry, if you have enough Saturn and Jupiter and you're willing to, be honest with each other, you can work through the outer planet situations going on. It's not impossible, really. It's like, and transits have to do with it too. And like I said, your decisions. It's your decisions that are the main factor in the situation. And whether you're or not you want to deal with life, But the big culprit is lying. That's the fifth house, and that's the ego. Like I said, it's not Neptune. Neptune's not gonna necessarily, like, I mean, Neptune, the bad part of it can be feeling guilty, so you might tell some lies or might, try to, you know, keep the person around emotionally, but not in a real situation sometimes. I mean, that's just what Neptune is in general. But it's not the liar planet. The ego is, because the ego wants what it wants, and it'll do. If your ego is having problems, it'll do anything to make your ego feel good. And your ego, part of that is fear. It's a huge part of it. So your ego has to do with that a lot more than anything else, and what you're willing to deal with and, work through and everything. Um, Now this is kind of an impromptu video, so just, you know, uh, give me a minute to think sometimes, because I'm trying to get my thoughts together, because I didn't want to miss this opportunity for some things I've already said to make this video right now, because it's such an important topic to know about. Um, so like I was saying, it's the ego, and it's It's also sometimes it can be karma, especially the north and south node synastry. Some of the aspects, like you can work through any aspect if you really love each other. There's no one aspect that is going to make or break a relationship. It can be very difficult sometimes, but synastry, karma in synastry is not going to make or break relationships necessarily. It's just that karma is one-sided sometimes, and it runs out, and then if you stick with the relationship, it turns into dharma, which is your path and like where you're heading, what you're supposed to do, and then it's two-sided, you know, which is a good thing, and also the seventh house. If you're having problems with the seventh house in the natal chart or in synastry, that's going to be where you're always caring what everybody else wants to do or say or think, or what they want you to be like. Unfortunate also. If you're letting seventh house problems, you know, be a big part of the relationship, especially in fortune or the south and north node in the natal chart, that has the effect of that axis, the first and seventh house has the effect of us versus me. Us is the seventh house, me is the first house. So if it's seventh house problems going on and not the good parts of it, it's going to be where you're always bending over backwards for the other person. And it's somehow, if there's problems in the relationship about that subject, it's going to be where it's all for them. Or if it's all with this first house, all me, and the other person is trying to do the seventh house things and they're trying to do stuff for you, that can be a huge part of it too. That it, there needs to be some amount of both people doing stuff in the relationship um, for it to work. And like I said, your belief systems, that's a huge part of it. Um, but like I was saying, so I needed to finish what I was saying about karma, the north and south node, and dharma. You know, if you have karma with someone, it might not last, but it can sometimes if you put effort into it. It's like there's some basic kind of outline of how the synastry is gonna be. If you have certain aspects, and it can make it difficult sometimes, like the north node, which is more or less, um, which is more, and then the south node is less. So more of Mars would be like fighting. It's not maybe just fighting, but it's gonna put a lot of, you know, fiery back and forth with each other, which I've seen in friends, long lasting friendships, which could be part of one part of it why they're not together, maybe, or not necessarily because they wouldn't have to be anyway. But Pluto square Mars, or Mars being in a square aspect to certain planets, can put a lot of fighting into the relationship, and that's another part of it. And it's sometimes people do stick together even if there's fighting, and even if they want to kill each other, they do. And probably because there's Saturn. And long lasting friendships also is because of Saturn and Jupiter. But anyway, like I was saying, Jupiter is your belief system. And so it's not um Neptune's not the biggest part of it. It's one of several big parts of it is Jupiter, your belief system. If if you somehow can work out your different beliefs to where you're understanding each other and can accept each other, that's one thing. But if you can't, which you can work on it, you can decide to, put effort into the relationship. But if you can't, your belief systems, that's going to be a big part of it because, if one person decides that everyone's worth it to love in any type of relationship, because we all have chakras and we all have times where we're, letting fear take over our lives instead of being our true selves, like confident and so forth. Um, you know, then the belief systems, if you have too much fear in your life and let that be in control of your life, your belief systems can be where it's like, you know, I we're having difficulty now, so see ya not, That's a big part of what I see coming from LA and such places, or not necessarily just there, but that kind of mentality and, that dream mentality, that glamour fifth house life. That's what I see a lot. I don't see Neptune necessarily in Sistree and in the natal chart being the big reason why people um, can't have a natal chart, where they have, you know, healthy belief systems and whatever, or in Sistree. It's not Neptune that makes that happen. It's because I or it's not Neptune being in difficult aspects in Sinistry or the natal chart, because I have uh 3 planets in Pisces, personal planets, 3 out of 5. Venus is one, the moon is the other, and Mars is the other. And it doesn't make me blind. Pisces is psychic, so I can see straight through people. And if I don't have many relationships that have Neptune, it's more Uranus or especially Pluto. That's a big one for me. Um, and my sun sign is Aquarius, so I'm already Uranus, whatever to begin with. So but I have my Neptune is in uh pretty much good aspects to those planets, but it's in couple difficult aspects to other things, major things that you need to look at. But and uh growing up, I always had the mentality that a lot of people that I see have about the enabler, save me, victim kind of thing, which I've been a part of because of my life growing up, which is the South Node in Scorpio, which is a traumatic one to have. So I've been through situations where and that made my whole life growing up really plutonic and needing to deal with that stuff. So I've been in, I've had that kind of mentality growing up, like many people, but I don't have so many bully situations where, you know, I have the personality, a lot of stuff in my birth chart where I can give crap back to you, and whether or not you can do that isn't going to make your whole life Neptune necessarily. But if you have enough of, being able to, tell people what you have to say about life, if you have difficult Neptune aspects in your natal chart, or like I said, if there's one or two, whatever, in the synastry, you can have a long relationship. It's not going to make or break a relationship to have an aspect or two. If you have 10, maybe, but it's not the culprit of relationships not lasting. It's the fifth house. Somehow or another, if you have strong Leo in your birth chart, and also I've seen Leos being married for years and years. It's not like it's gonna make or break a relationship if you have Leo in your birth chart. It's just that I'm trying to explain what the fifth house is about. So it's about putting on a face, especially if you have fear in you of people seeing your flaws. Which, by the way, in case you're wondering, I have a foundation and videos on my channel for that, which you should really watch if you're wondering what all I'm thinking or what I believe about, uh, you know, relationships and fears and flaws and all that stuff. But Leo being the actor, the celebrity, the glamorous, zodiac sign and the fifth house being that, that's one of the culprits for it. It's because you're, uh, and because of fear, because if you don't want someone to see who you really are, that can hold you back from relationships. And then whenever the difficult Pluto stuff comes up, if your belief systems are to where you don't want to deal with it, that's going to be a big part of it too. But the whole like acting kind of thing is the like one of the main reasons, because if you let your guard down and then or even if you don't want to, but you're yourself, like your true self, which I explained in my foundation, which is confident and real and happy and not fearing stuff. If you're being your true self, you can let people see. If you're confident enough to let people see your flaws, you know, that can help a lot. And I say in my foundation, there's your true self, your fears and your flaws, and then your hurt self. So people mix the hurt self and the true self and flip flop it, like say one is the other, which is not true. Your true self is the confident, loving self that can interact with people. Your hurt self is the one that they say is your true self. Whenever, after a while, when you can see someone's flaws, which is the other third thing I talk about. So your hurt self is where that has to do with not dealing with Pluto stuff and wanting people to save you from, your difficult life. You know, whenever people see that or your fears and your flaws and they don't want to deal with it anymore because of their belief system, that's why relationships don't last. It's not one certain planet that is going to make or break a relationship, but the whole lying trust thing is a big part of it. Because if you lie so many times and then people don't know what is true or what isn't true or what you're going to say next, which half of it has to do with your own self, I think, your life growing up, and whether you trust people or not to begin with, whether it has to do with other people or not. Because if you've been hurt and don't trust people, that's going to make a big impact on new people you meet whether or not they're trustworthy about lying, a certain amount or not, it's already in you to have fears of relationships, That's a big part of it in the natal chart and difficult aspects, you know, with your ego, maybe whether or not you deal with it is part of it. And Pluto being in a, square aspects to the ego isn't necessarily what all I'm talking about. I'm talking about other planets too. Um, like Saturn maybe. Um, sorry, I don't know if you can see me there. My other screen came up. Anyway, what I was saying is it's how you deal with your ego and your how much you want to put that fifth house acting creative. It's also creative, which is good, which can be good for writing, like fiction. Um, if you're an author and you write fiction, uh, you know, if you, especially if you're, you have a full-time job doing that or something, you know, that's gonna be one part of your personality a lot. Like it's not necessarily all bad. That's a great thing to have creativity in you. But if you have like Leo in your birth chart and it's like difficult aspects, or if you don't want to deal with, you know, your ego, that's going to be a big part of it. And um, the creative thing, the negative side of it is that like if you want to please people and like tell them a good story, sometimes Leos or especially Moon and Leo, that's a big one I see, not giving you quite the right picture of something. But if you have like some kind of a personality about the fifth house or whatever creative stuff where you want to like you're always trying to like tell great stories and have attention because of Leo stuff going on in your birth chart, that's a part of it, and like yeah, especially Moon and Leo, like I said, or if your MC is Leo, maybe anywhere Leo is, you might have a difficult time with telling the truth sometimes. And it might, what I was saying is that Leos have a hard time with not telling white lies sometimes. And then it can grow into big ones, big black ones, where it's, just a bunch of crap, where it's like nothing true sometimes for certain people. But anywhere Leo is in the birth chart, you're gonna have a difficult time with that subject. Um, and or if um, especially like Mars and the Sun or something, where there's action and energy going on, if that's in a difficult aspect, that can be one thing to look out for. Um, or if somehow you're not dealing with your Pluto stuff, that can be a part of it too. Like I said about fear and all that stuff, But the whole like the glamour life, wherever it is, any kind of public figure, celebrity, actor kind of person or writer or, those types of people that That's all the fifth house in Leo. That's not Neptune. Um, and like I said, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and Sagittarius is, which is mutable signs, and that's part of it, changeable. It's not Neptune as much as it is just any mutable sign because they're changeable and have kind of like two sides to them. Um, and like I said, Pisces and Jupiter, or Sagittarius, that's your belief systems. So that can be a huge part of it. So I'd say your fears, Pluto stuff, that you don't want to deal with if you're not dealing with stuff. And Jupiter, natal stuff. And the Sun and Leo and the fifth house stuff in Ancestry and the natal chart. And that's the biggest culprits of it. And I'm not saying it's Pluto in itself, but it's just your fears is what I was talking about that. So that's a big part of it. Um, so the fifth house is not all bad or not all good. It's just that it's the glamour life house. It's the creativity. It's the Leo house, the ego house. It's the like me house. That's what the ego is all about. I've studied birth charts and synastry where it's the ego gets in the way of things. That's Leo. It's not Pisces or Sagittarius. It's I mean Pisces. I was thinking of Jupiter ruling with them, but it's part of that. But it's not Pisces where it's the dreamy kind of foggy kind of thing going on. It's the active flat out lying to your face. That's the fifth house. That's the Leo house. That's Leo and the sun sign. Like not sun sign, but it's the sun, like the ego and the identity. Whatever the identity has going on, that's gonna be the where things are happening about whether you're telling the truth or not, because your ego doesn't like being hurt. And if you're having ego fear, that's the ego too. That's the fifth house. If you're having those problems, that's going to be a big part of relationship problems because people don't like to deal with ego issues and lying issues. It's like if you keep lying to someone, they don't want to deal with it. Then, that's a big part of it, and uh, you know, the actor kind of, that house, that kind of mentality or whatever, like always wanting to put on a good show for people and it's also like Venus, like there's a part of Venus, the difficult part of Venus is wanting everything to look glamorous. That's the glamour house also in a way. It rules Libra and Taurus, which isn't necessarily all that I'm talking about, but the bad side of Venus is that they want things to look good on the outside, no matter what's going on the inside. So that's a part of it too. If you are not wanting to be honest and let people see your flaws, that can be a part of it too. So basically that's what that's about. If you have comments, feel free. If you excuse me, if you are astrology students or professionals, and you have your own opinions, feel free and say what they are. I don't give a crap. I could care less if people want to disagree with me or agree with me. Because there's attitudes in the astrology world sometimes of such things going on, but I don't care. I mean, feel free, But yeah, the fifth house and the ego and Leo is what that's all about. So, and your belief system and fear is basically what that's about, not Neptune. I wish people would stop blaming Neptune for everything, because what I see in synastry is not tons of Neptune, like whenever I study astrology, natal charts, and synastry charts, it is. So, thanks for watching.